Welcome to Shop Talks. I'm Rick Roth from the Ink Kitchen. This is a production of the Ink Kitchen and Impressions magazine. We have all these sponsors here. Check them out. The information's free because of them. We are fortunate to have Allie Banholzer here. She's a shop owner. She has some very interesting ideas on how to get stuff done. She has a whole planning matrix and everything. So we can't do the entire training, but part of the purpose of these shop talks is to introduce you to people that know what they're talking about, to get a little bit to know them, and then you can seek them out for the more in-depth trainings. She is part of Shirt Lab, right? For how long? Shirt Lab?
So I have been a participant in Shirt Lab since the very beginning at the first educational event they did in Columbus, Ohio. For the last year, I have become a partner owner in Shirt Lab.
Oh, cool. All right. So let's just get started a little bit about your overall approach to getting things done in your shop, in particular long-term projects and short-term projects.
Sure. So I am a Lean Six Sigma practitioner, which is a business methodology that uses a lot of data and statistics and analytics to hone in on your systems and processes to improve efficiency and quality, but only where your customers are willing to pay for it. So it's not costing you any money. In doing that, there's a methodology for getting stuff done. And not by you.
I like that part.
Right? We're all busy. We're all pulled in a million different directions. And so if you can delegate and pass this on to your employees and give them the projects, but educate them in the tools to get it done, then your shop will become exponentially more efficient.
And how big is your shop?
So I have 8 employees. We do 6 lines of manufacturing, so embroidery, silk screen, wide format printing, sublimation, laser, direct to film.
And what are some of the ways that you get them to buy in on this process? Because this is where the rub is.
So first of all, we have very clearly defined job descriptions, and it is part of their job to do this. So that expectation is laid out from the very beginning when they're hired. However, we do also try to incentivize them. We have a program kind of with monopoly money where based on the job they're doing and the results they're getting, they get monopoly money. And then that monopoly money can be turned into to get gift cards or different. They can go to the company store, so to say, and spend that monopoly money. Usually in real things, not things we produce, usually in gift cards or various things. We also have well, let me back up a little bit. So we do these long-term projects. The way we start the projects is by sitting down as a group and brainstorming. And then and all I do is I ask a simple question: what's broken? And then we go around and everybody gets a say, from our most junior employee to myself, on what's broken. Once we've done that, all of the ideas go up, all of the things that are broken go up, and they get voted on and prioritized. And then I've got 7 employees, 8 if you include me, and everybody picks a project that they're gonna work on for a quarter. The expectation on the projects are that they take them approximately 1 hour a week to work on. But if you have, let's say on average, 4 to 5 weeks in a month, that project's gonna take 15 to 20 hours to complete. And it's 15 to 20 hours that I'm not working on it. Somebody else is working on it to solve these problems. So what's broke? We prioritize the list, and then we either assign or they get to pick the project they want to work on. I'm getting buy-in because they've got say. They have say in the project they're working on, and they see then that when that problem is solved, their job becomes easier, right? Because now this process is no longer broken in the shop. So that incentivizes them. The dollar amount incentivizes them. And then this may seem silly, but when you complete a project, you get a little model airplane. Our shop has a heavy aviation theme surrounding it. And everybody's required to do one project, lead one project, and support a fellow employee on 2 other projects. So every project that's completed that they've supported on, they get a little army man. And it seems really silly, but they start putting these around their desks, and as they complete more projects, they're building this almost trophy showcase of all of the work that they've done.
And then how long did it take at your shop to get people to buy into this whole process? Like from the time you started it till you felt like people really like it, if you will.
So 1 project a quarter. It was round about the 3rd quarter that they started getting excited about it. The first 2 quarters, they're like, ugh, really? And a little army man? Really? That's my reward for doing this? Plus the Monopoly money. But by the completion of the 2nd quarter and the 2nd project that everybody had done, they had seen enough things get fixed in the shop and the improvement that made their jobs easier that they're like, hey, yeah, no, this is a good thing.
So do you think they cared more about the incentives, or do they care more like, oh, my life has less hassle at work? Which was it?
Ultimately, now they care that they have a voice to be able to fix the problem, and
Not just fix, but they get to pick what they work on too.
they get to pick what they work on. They have a voice in how it's fixed. It's making their job easier.
Who keeps people on task? How do you do that, right? Do people sometimes slack till the end and not do it, or is there some way to keep people going?
So, admittedly, some people will slack. We've had now we've been doing this for about 2 years. We have a few people who have not, 1 quarter they didn't complete the project. 4th quarter is always hard for the projects. 4th quarter is our busiest quarter. We've got December, Christmas. People are busy. They take vacation, holidays. And they don't always manage their time the best, right? So one of the things we do is everybody kind of gives a quick check-in once a week at our staff meeting to be able to tell where they're at on the project, tell if they've run up against any roadblocks that they need help with to overcome. Maybe now they've determined that we actually need to buy something or they need to spend some money to solve this problem. Those are the things that are getting reported in the staff meeting. And if they haven't worked on it, they have nothing to report. And then they're like, oh, wait, yeah, I need to get working on getting that done.
So what kind of projects? What's the simplest thing? What's the most complicated thing? Kind of just get an idea.
Yeah, so a lot of our projects initially were getting SOPs written. Raise your hand if you have every SOP written for your shop and it's in place and everybody has them and it works perfectly. Right?
We had half a hand up. Okay,
we had half
see
a
where
hand
that's
back
up.
over here. Standard operating procedures, yeah. So a lot of it was simply getting them to document the job they're already doing so that if they were out for vacation and somebody filled in for them, the job was still getting done in the same way, which made their life easier because when they came back, they weren't coming up against a bunch of problems.
And then what other kind of things now? Like what have you moved on to from there?
We now have projects that are evaluating software for the company, particularly shipping software, doing some analysis on ease of shipping, being able to bring in international shipping, cost of shipping, things that way. Also looking at doing some API work to integrate some of our software. Those are some of the more complicated and take somebody that has a skill set that not everybody has to be able to complete.
So what's been the difference for the company and for you in having this in place now?
So for me, we've been doing it for 2 years. Our employees fluctuate, but so if I have 7 employees, I'm not good with public math here. 7 employees, so 7 times 4, 28 projects a year. We're at 56 projects completed that I didn't do, right? That leaves me more time to work on those challenges and work on the business or meet with high-end customers that want FaceTime with the owner of the company. but the business is still running smoothly because all of these projects have been done. These SOPs are in place. We get new employees in, and the training is easy, and I don't have to do the training.
And then how's the company going as a result? Any change? Like, did it increase your efficiencies or your profits?
It has, what I can directly attribute, it has increased employee retention, decreased training costs, and then the timeliness of getting the projects done, particularly some of these evaluations, say for shipping and things that way. If I didn't have time to get to that project for several months, we're reaping the benefit of those savings and those decisions much earlier than if I had had to do them.
Do you have to? Is it all volunteer, or do you have some projects you assign that just have to get done?
We've had a couple projects that have come up multiple quarters in a row that, let's say...
Like if the roof leaks, I don't think you can let that go.
Well, that's not going to be a project. That's just going to be me calling the landlord, telling him to fix the roof. But to your point, let's say we have a project that only our press operator can do. And she's had the liberty of picking her projects for the last 2 quarters, and she's not picking that project because it seems like a overwhelming project to her. A couple things can happen. One, if it seems like an overwhelming project, we can break it down and put that project over multiple quarters and just take it in segment or chunks. That makes it a little more palatable. She might volunteer for it then. Worst case scenario, yeah, it gets assigned. Like, this needs to be fixed. You're the right person to fix it. This is your project this quarter.
Yeah, actually, I remember you kind of really got into the breaking things down so they're manageable, so they're not something that will never get done, right?
Yeah, so definitely we'll chunk projects down to make them manageable, but do we have time for me to go into a little bit of how to do it? So when we have a worksheet that they fill out when they're taking on a project, and it clearly defines what the project is, who the sponsor of the project is, and who are the supporting roles. It gets written out on this worksheet. The next thing that happens, there's a block on it that is the scope of the project. What does this project include? But more importantly, what does this project not include? Because if you've ever written SOPs or started doing projects, it's like a rabbit hole, right? Like, you do one thing and then you realize, oh, well, now this needs to be fixed, and you start working on that, and then you work on the next thing, and you never actually solve the problem because you just keep jumping to the next thing. So in that scope, it's clearly defined, this project includes this, it does not include this, so that there is a clear delineation. And if they come up in the project where there is that rabbit hole and they may need to do this next thing, then that actually gets put on a board to be considered for the project for next quarter. So, scope. Then you have your business case. You write out what is going to be the impact on the business, positive, if this project is completed. What does it mean? So you have that goal, that aspiration of, hey, when we fix this, it's going to look like this. You have your budget, and then you have there's 5 stages where you're going to define the project, analyze the project, implement your solution, control the solution, and then pass it off for somebody to sustain it. Each of those has a date that they write in that they will complete that stage of the project by. That also helps keep them on track to complete it in the 3 months.
Is that a thing you share with people?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share the worksheet.
All right. Do you want to say more, or should we have questions?
Well, the last thing on it is all of these worksheets get posted up in the shop on a big whiteboard so everybody can see the projects and the ongoing process. But yeah, I'd happy to take questions.
All right.
So how many projects do you have? Are you the one that thinks of the projects and says, okay, we have these 30 projects, y'all pick one? How does that work?
All right. How do you come up with the projects? Do you say here's the 30 projects and people pick, or how do you get the projects?
So we do the brainstorming at the beginning of each quarter. We like to do what's called round robin brainstorming. I ask the question, what's broke? And we just go around the table. People can pass.
For how many days do you go around the table?
Hey, we don't have that much broke anymore.
Lucky you.
People can pass if they don't have any ideas, but everybody gets a turn. Instead of doing a freestyle brainstorming where you may have one very vocal person that overtalks everybody else.
I mean, a big mouth like me? Yeah, okay.
I didn't say it. So we go around, we write it all down, we vote, we prioritize them. I'm hoping everybody's picking from those top prioritized projects. Now, in Lean Six Sigma, there is a very scientific methodology of doing what's called a priority matrix, where you assign values, and your employees can then kind of rate the items 1, 3, or 6, and you do a calculation, and it comes up with your highest priority issue to work on. Because we have 7 employees, we don't go through that for all of it. We let them pick from the brainstorming.
Good question. Thank you. Other questions?
When you're in the middle of a project and one of those issues come up, is there a point where you say, okay, this that came up is so important, let's pause this? How do you handle that?
So the question, you want to repeat the question because I think you might understand it better.
So the question, if I'm understanding, is if we're in the middle of a project and we come up against one of those roadblocks, and that roadblock really stops the project, you can't move on without fixing that first, what do we do? Generally speaking, that doesn't happen. Usually we can work around it and come back to it. But if it were to come up where we just absolutely can't continue without solving that, then yeah, that's the direction the project would take.
Good question. Thank you. We've got a mic for you here.
What have been some of the more notable projects that some of your employees have come up with that might have surprised you?
Good question. Thanks.
So 2 that come to mind was one with dealing with transfers and direct to film. So we're a shop that's been doing transfers since 2014, and now, of course, DTF as it comes onto the scene. We had no real organization system for those transfers. They were lumped together. We didn't have a way of dating them to know if they'd been on the shelf for 4 years, and we'd go to try to press it on a shirt, and it was going to look like garbage because it was too old to be doing. So our person that runs our heat presses and does that came up with a very methodical system for cataloging and dating everything. The initial push on doing that was time consuming to go through all of the past transfers that we had, but now that it's up and he's maintaining it, takes him less than 5 minutes a day to maintain it. So that was significant. It reduced our errors and waste because we weren't using bad old transfers and things that way. Definitely saved us money. The other was in the way we staged our embroidery production. We had always done it just very linear by due date, like this job's due and things this way. But embroidery, let's say you've got caps to do. It's a whole change out on the machine to put on all the cap hoops and do all of that. So she came up with a system to basically change how we stage it and different shelves for grouping like jobs together rather than doing the due dates. And again, it saved time. It was more efficient, which saves the shop money.
Other questions? All right. Yeah? All right. So you can hang around for a few minutes, yes? All right. So if you're too shy or you think of a question in the next couple minutes, Allie will be around. And thank you for attending the Shop Talks. There's a whole schedule over there. This also will be appearing as a video when we get to edit it. And how about a hand for Allie Banholzer? All right. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks for coming.